सर्वेभ्यो नमस्काराः। सिद्धान्तकौमुद्याः हलन्त पुल्लिङ्ग प्रकरणे द्वितीयः पाठः। जुलै मासस्य 26 दिनाङ्कः। येनाक्षरसमां नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते। हकारान्त पुल्लिङ्गाः अधीयन्ते। तत्र हकारान्तानां साधारणं कार्यं भवति होढः इत्यनेन पदान्ते हकारः अस्ति चेत् तस्य ढकारः आदेशो भवति। लिह् इत्यस्य लिट् लिड्भ्यां लिड्भिः इत्यादौ भवति। तस्य अपवादत्वेन सूत्रं प्रोक्तं दादेर्धातोर्घः स एव हकारान्तः यदि धातुः डकारादिः धातुः भवति तर्हि ढकारस्य स्थाने अथवा ढकारः न भवति, तस्य स्थाने घकारः आदेशो भवति इत्यर्थः। यथा दुह् धातोः हकारस्य स्थाने घकारादेशे दुघ्। अत्र तु घकारे कृते तस्य झषन्तत्वात् भष् भावोऽपि भवति। एकाचो बशो भष् झषन्तस्य धोः इत्यनेन आदेः दकारस्य स्थाने ढकारादेशोऽपि भवति। तेन हलादिषु प्रत्ययेषु धुक् धुग्भ्यां धुग्भिः इत्यादि रूपाणि। अजादौ तु किमपि कार्यं नास्ति, दुहौ दुहः इत्यादि। इदानीं तत्रैव वदति चत्वारः धातवः सन्ति। द्रुह जिघांसायां द्रोग्धि आदादिकः धातुः। द्रोहः द्रोह इस् जिघांसा, हन्तुमिच्छा जिघांसा इत्युच्यते, स एव द्रोहः। मुह वैचित्ये मोहः नाम चित्तविकारः। You do not know, the mind gets agitated or disturbed, is called moha. Shnuha udgirane, स्नुह धातुः शकारः शकारस्य स्थाने सकारादेशो भवति। उद्गिरणे उद्गिरणं नाम something which spurts out or sprouts out. Shniha प्रीतौ स्नेहः, स्नेहा is affection. Now for these four dhatus, यदि द्रुह धातुः किमस्ति दकारादिः धातुः, तेन दकारादिः हकारान्तः इत्यनेन दादेर्धातोर्घः इत्यनेन घत्वं प्राप्नोति। अन्येषां धातूनां तु होढः इत्यनेन ढत्वं प्राप्नोति। सर्वेषां कृत्प्रत्ययः क्रियते। As usual for all dhatus, you do kartari kvip, like kvip. So once you do kvip, because of tridanta, it becomes a pratipadika. So druh इत्यस्य दादित्वात् नित्यं घत्वे प्राप्ते। दादिः धातुः इत्यनेन दादेर्धातोर्घः इत्यनेन नित्यमेव घत्वं प्राप्नोति पदान्ते। अन्येषां नित्यं ढत्वे प्राप्ते। अन्ये ये धातवः मुह श्नुह श्निह इति तेषां होढः इत्यनेन ढत्वं प्राप्नोति। वा द्रुह मुह श्नुह श्निहाम् इति अग्रिमं सूत्रम्। पदद्वयं वा इति विकल्प्यते एतेषां चतुर्णां धातूनां। द्रुह मुह श्नुह श्निहाम् किं दादेर्धातोर्घः वा द्रुह मुह श्नुह श्निहाम् घत्वं विकल्पेन भवति इत्यर्थः। सूत्रक्रमः स एव होढः दादेर्धातोर्घः वा द्रुह मुह श्नुह श्निहाम् एतेषां चतुर्णां धातूनां घत्वं विकल्पेन भवति इत्यर्थः। तत्र द्रुह धातोः नित्यं घत्वं प्राप्तम्, अन्येषां घत्वस्य प्राप्तिरेव नासीत्। उभयोः विकल्पः अनेन क्रियते। तेन इयम् उभयविभाषा। अनुवृत्तिस्तु तथैव। झलि इत्यनुवर्तते अन्ते पदस्य इत्यधिकारः अन्ते इत्यनुवर्तते झलिपदान्ते च। हकारस्य स्थाने होढः इत्यतः हः इति अनुवर्तते। हकारस्य स्थाने घः दादेर्धातोर्घः इति सूत्रात् घः इति अनुवर्तते। घकारः भवति वा विकल्पेन। येषां हस्य वा घः स्यात् झलि पदान्ते च इति सूत्रार्थः। पक्षे ढः घकारः यदा न भवति वा इत्युक्तत्वात् विकल्पेन भवति यदा घकारः न भवति तदा किं स्यात् इति चेत् होढः इत्यनेन ढत्वं भवति धृक् धृग् धृट् धृड् द्रुः इति धातुः धातोः सुप्रत्ययः प्रत्ययस्य लोपे कृते द्रुः इत्यस्ति हकारस्य स्थाने आदौ घत्वं वा द्रुहमुहश्नुः श्निहाम् इत्यनेन घत्वं दृघ् इति जातम् इदानीम् एकाचो बशो भष् इत्यनेन बशः डकारस्य स्थाने ढकारः धृक् धृघ् जष्टं भवति वावसाने इति चत्वविकल्पे धृक् धृग् इति रूपद्वयम् घत्वस्य अभावे द्रुः इति स्थिते हकारस्य स्थाने ढत्वं होढः इति ढकारः दृढ इति भवति अत्रापि एकाचो भशो भष् इति भवति यतोहि ढकारोऽपि झष् सो दृढ जष्ट्वे चर्त्वे कृते धृट् धृड् चत्वारि रूपाणि प्रथमैकवचने द्रुहौ द्रुहः अजादौ विभक्तौ किमपि नास्ति पुनः हलादिषु भ्यां भिस् इत्यादिषु रूपद्वयम् घत्वे कृते धृग्भ्याम् इति भवति ढत्वे कृते तु धृड्भ्याम् इति भवति द्रुहौ द्रुहः अजादि अस्ति धृग्भ्यां धृड्भ्याम् इति रूपद्वयम् अन्येषु हलादिषु विभक्तिषु सप्तमी एकवचने किं भवति धृक्षु घत्वे कृते द्रुः सु इत्यस्ति घत्वे कृते दृघ सु बशः स्थाने भष्भावे कृते धृघ सु जष्टं धृग् सु आदेशप्रत्ययोः इत्यनेन सकारस्य षत्वं भवति धृग् षु गकारस्य स्थाने खरिच इति चर्त्वे धृक्षु इति एकमेव रूपम् ढत्वपक्षे तु ढकारे कृते तस्य जष्ट्वेन भष्भावे तस्य जष्ट्वेन डकारे कृते धृड् सु इत्यस्ति डस्सि धुट् इत्यनेन वैकल्पिकः धुडागमः भवति धुडागमे चर्त्वे कृते धृट्सु इति एकं रूपं तदभावे धृट्सु इति रूपत्रयम् तेन किं प्रथमैकवचने चत्वारि रूपाणि तृतीयादिषु तृतीयाद्विवचनादिषु रूपद्वयम् सप्तमी बहुवचने रूपत्रयम् एवं मुह श्नुः श्निहाम् so the same thing will happen for them except that there is no bhash bhava the step involving ekacho basho bhash will not apply because there are no bash letters involved here so it will have muk mug mut mud mugbhyam mudbhyam mukshu mututsu mutsu rupani evameva just that one step will not happen इदानीम् अन्यः हकारान्तः शब्दः विश्वं वहति इत्यर्थे he who carries bears the world इत्यर्थे वह धातोः णि इति प्रत्ययः क्रियते वहश्च इति सूत्रेण सः प्रत्ययः णित् णित् प्रत्ययः यत्र भवति तत्र सर्वत्र वृद्धिः bhavati generally the purpose of having some suffix as lit is to bring about vriddhi usually for the prakriti bhava for the prakriti so here vah gets upadha vriddhi by ata upadhayah tena vah iti bhavati pratyayasya vakarasya vera praktasya ityanena lopah okay so you see there are two things which can happen when with such pratyayas when you have quip or quin or ni all these are called sarvapahari pratyayah sarva apahari means all the pratyaya bhaga is always deleted so that you do not hear the pratyaya at all and in some cases there is no change in prakriti like we saw say lih you have lih you do quip and you remove the quip and it still remains lih now it is a pratipadika okay? But there are some cases where even though the pratyaya is not heard that is the pratyaya is deleted there is some karya which has happened in the prakriti because of the pratyaya as in this case there is a vriddhi which has occurred in vah initially it was vah now it has become vah so even though you don't hear the pratyaya there could be some karya which was occurred because of that pratyaya okay? So वृद्धौ कृतायां वैरवृत्तस्य इत्यनेन वकारस्य लोपः विश्वं वाह इत्यस्ति उभयोः उपपदसमासः क्रियते उपपदमतिङ् इत्यनेन समासे कृते प्रत्ययस्य लोपः विश्वम् इत्यत्र अम् प्रत्ययस्य लोपो भवति in a samasa always the pratyaya gets deleted by supodhatu pratipadikayoh, so you end up with vishvavah, okay, which is our pratipadika. Krutadhita samasascha ityanena asya pratipadika samya vidyate. So you do not need to know this prakriya actually. I mean, in the current stage you can easily start saying vishvavah is the word. I'm just showing this for further samskara. So I mean, when you keep hearing such things, then we later move on to the study of, say, kridantas or samasas. If you have the previous samskara, it would be easier. Okay. But you need not actually remember this whole prakriya now at this stage. So vishvavah iti hakarantam pratipadikam ityalam. So kim bhavati vishvavah su ityasti kim bhavet. What should be the karya? Kim karyam bhavati. We have already covered this. So general hakaranta word. What will happen when it is
can delete the sakara, but hakara hakara will change to dakara. Hodaha.
Right. Right. So kim bhavati halyabhyo dirghat sutisya praktam hal ityanena sakarasya lopo bhavati vishvavah ityasti idanim hakarasya padantatvat hodhah ityanena dhatvam bhavati. This should be vishvavad. This is a typing error. Dhatve krite jhalam jashonte ityanena jashtvam avasane iti chartve vishvavat vishvavad iti rupadvayam. Just like we have lit, we have two forms, vishvavat, vishvavad, vishvavahau, vishvavahaha. Tatra kimapi na ajadishu pratyayeshu atra karyam nasti. Vishvavaham, vishvavahau iti bhavati. Vishvavaha shas ityasti. Shas pratyaye pare kim bhavet iti prashnah. Vastutah हकारान्तस्य किमपि कार्यं न विहितं किन्तु अत्र अस्ति इग्गण सम्प्रसारणम् त्रिपदात्मकं सूत्रम् इक यणः सम्प्रसारणम् सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी सूत्र and संज्ञा सूत्र अनेन सूत्रेण सम्प्रसारणम् इति संज्ञा विधीयते. So he needs to deal with something called samprasarana. So he's first defining what is samprasarana. Right? Yes, ig yanaha samprasaranam. Gorthaha yanaha sthane prayujyamanaha yaha ik saha samprasarana samyaha syat. It is sutrarthaha. Yanaha sthane ik. What we do in ikoyanachi is ik letters are replaced by yan. Okay. And there are certain sutras, a set of sutras which mandate replacement of a yan letter by ik. That is, if there is a yakara, it would be replaced by i. If there is a vakara, it would be replaced by u, v, u, etc. So, such cases where the yan has been replaced by ik, that is called samprasarana. Okay. So, that ik letter which is being used in place of a yan letter is called samprasarana. So idanim kim vaha ut iti sutram asti vahaha ut iti bhasya ityadhikaraha asos samprasaranam iti sutrat samprasaranam ityanuvrittihi asti. Bhasya vahaha samprasaranam ut syat. Vahaha vah ityasya vah dhatoh upadhavriddhau yaha vah iti jatam tasya भस्य यदा भसम्या विद्यते भसम्या केन सूत्रेण भवति तदा भवति What is bhasamya and when is it mandated?
Yachibam.
Yachibham iti sutrena bhasamya vidhiyate. Asarvanamasthāneshu kapratyayavadhishu yakaradishu ajadishu cha swadishu. So swadi pratyayas other than sarvanamasthana which are either yakaradi or ajadi. Okay, they will get bhasamya by yachibham. So bhasya, when the vah dhatu with upadharika, it has bhasamya, it gets samprasarana. And the simply said samprasarana would be ukara for vakara, but he says here specifically it says ut. Nama ukaraha. Thakara se itsamya asti. So ut ukaraha samprasaranam bhavati vahaha. Vahaha nama samprasarana should always be for a yan letter, and there is only one yan letter here, which is va. So vakarasya sthane ukaraha adesho bhavati. Saha samprasaranam ityuchyate ityarthaha. Yena kim vishvavah as ityasti yachibham ityanena bhasamya asti. Because in jas there was sarvanamasthana, so there was no bhasamya. But when you come to shas, there is no sarvanamasthana samya, and it is ajadi. So we have bhasamya. Bhasamyayam satya vaha ut ityanena vakarasya sthane ukaraha adeshah. Vishva u ah vah ityatra vakarasya ukaraha ah ityasti as ityasti. Vishva u ah as. Idanim samprasaranacha. So there are certain pairs of sutras which always come together. Say whenever you do art agama, immediately you apply atascha. There should be vriddhi. Similarly, whenever we do samprasarana, immediately we use samprasaranacha. Samprasaranat. Iko ena chetyataha chiti ena vartate. Mi purvaha ityataha purvaha. Purvarupam bhavati ityarthaha. Samprasaranat achipare amipurvaha. See, amipurvaha is again another example. You have as soon as you do pratyaya, you always do amipurvaha. Most of the cases. So, yeah, ekah purvaparayoho ityanena ekadeshaha asti. So, korthaha samprasaranat achi. Whenever a samprasarana is followed by ach, any ach, purvarupam ekadeshaha syat. There will be purvarupa as the ekadesha for the two letters. Means you have u and a. Ayam idam samprasaranam asmad achi pare akare pare ubhayoh sthane purvarupam nama ukaraha adesho bhavati. Tena vishva uh as jatam. Idanim kim bhavati? Kaha sandhihi vishva uh. What should be the sandhi?
Vriddhirechi. Vriddhirechi.
Vriddhirechi. There is no H. This is Ukara. Vishwa Uh. Gunasandhi. Kim sutram ad gunaha. Avarnadachi gunaha ekadeshaha syat. Any other answers? Exactly. So there was a sutra as a apavada to guna. You have etyedhatyutsu. Atogune would not apply here because the following letter is not guna. Atogune applies when this happens to be a or o. Okay. So here the sutra which applies is etyedhatyutsu. Avarnat ejadyohu etyedhatyohu uticha pare. Okay. So it was this example which is given there, but then it would not have it would be difficult to sink in at that stage because you have not dealt with shabdas. But now recollect it. Eti edhati utsu. When akara is followed by ut, there is vriddhi. instead of guna. There should have been guna, but guna is overruled by vriddhi. Tena kim bhavati? Vishvauh as gunaha akara ukarayoh vriddhi nama aukaraha. So vishvauh as sakarasya sasarshoruh kharvasanayor visarjaniyah. Tenena rutva visargayoh kritayoh vishvauhaha. So vishvavat, vishvavahu, vishvavahaha, vishvavaham, vishvavahau, vishvauhaha. Vishvauha ajadishu pratyayeshu pareshu samprasaranam purvarupam vriddhi etyathatyutsu iti vriddhi. Vishvauha vishvavadbhyam haladishu pratyayeshu tu samprasaranam nasti bhasamnyayaha abhavat tatra tu padasamnya asti ityatah hodhaha iti dhatvam bhavati vishvavadbhyam vishvavadbhihi ityadini rupani. Vishvauha, Vishvavadbhyam, Vishvavadbhihi, Vishvauhe ityadi. Chandasyeva nvihi iti pakshe lijantadvich. So he says, if you remember initially when we did that derivation of Vishvavaha, we applied a pratyaya nmi to vahadhatu. Vahadhatoh nmi pratyayah kratah. Kashtana pakshaha asti yatra सह ण्वि प्रत्ययः. That ण्वि, couple of sutras before that there is a sutra which is called chandasi sahaha. So some people say there is an anuvritti of chandasi, which means only in the Vedas this ण्वि pratyaya can be added. Okay. So that is what some people say, that the ण्वि, the suffix, can be used only in the Vedas. So how do we use this word in classical Sanskrit? If, I mean, in the Vedas there is prayoga and all this is fine, but what about in bhasha? So it says nijantadvich. So there is another way in which you can derive the same pratipadika. You do nich pratyaya to that vah. Then again, since nich is also nit, it again gets upadha vriddhi, it becomes vah, it becomes vahi. And then you do another pratyaya which is called vich. Which is a general pratyaya which can be applied both in the Vedas and Loka. So in which again you have the ni gets deleted, so you end up with Vishvavah. The same thing, but you are deriving from a different root. If it is, if the contention is that ni can be applied only in the Vedas. Okay. Iti pakshe. But there is also a paksha which says ni can be used in the Lokas, so the derivation which we have done is fine. But there are others who do not accept that. So in that case you have to do nich and then do which and then get Vishvavah. Okay. So now Vishvavah Shabdaha Haladishu Pratyayeshu Hodhaha iti dhatvam. So everywhere you have actually this should also be green, Vishvavadbhyam. So in all these cases you have dhatva followed by jastva, so you get da. Bhasamnyayam, when it is followed by ajadi pratyayas, so you have vaha ut itinena samprasaranam bhavati. Samprasarane krite purarupe etyathatyutsu iti vrittau vishvau iti bhavati. Vishvauhaha, vishvauha, vishvauhe, vishvauhaha, vishvauhi ityadi. Supi, again in Saptami Bahuvachana you have an optional dhudagama. That will be Vishvavatsu or Vishvavatsu. So that's about Vishvavah. Any questions?
Soumyaji, Samprasaranacha, the purpose seems to be that we don't get into the loop of doing echo energy again, because there is
exactly right. So if there is no Samprasaranacha, if you have an ik letter followed by ach, we would have echo energy and you have to end back with the same whatever we did, which is va. If you have u and a, it will become va again. There is no point. So he removes that ach following ach by, I mean, it's essentially retaining the Samprasarana.
And it comes much later, like 61108. That cha stands for what purpose? There is something else.
Nothing. There are many cases where he has cha. He says amipurvaha samprasaranat cha.
Oh,
This is when something is followed by you get purvarupa. Also when followed by samprasaranat.
oh,
But because there is anuvritti, this cha can be deleted. There is one case where the Bhashyakara says there are many chakaras which could be deleted in Ashtadhyayi, because he says here, for example, in samprasaranat cha, even if there is no chakara, you can samprasaranat, there is anuvritti of purva, there is anuvritti of achi, you can still do it. So, but the chakara is there. Panini, I mean, when he's speaking, he says ami purvaha samprasaranat cha, samprasaranadapi purvarupam bhavati. That is all. So, there are some cases where chakara has a special role, but in this case, it's not that significant. Okay, there's a question by Hema. Vidyarthini, how do we decline? Like Nadi. Yes. Vidyarthini would be like Nadi. You have Neep.
Vidyarthi. So Vidyarthi is a long Ajanta Pumlinga.
Right. Vidyarthin, it is a Nakaranta.
Oh,
Since
Nakaranta.
it is Nakaranta in Strilinga, you get Neep. So it becomes Ikaranta. So all Nakarantas are like that. You have Dandin, it becomes Dandini. You have Gunin, it becomes Gunini. All of them become Ikarantas. It would be like Nari Shabda. Okay. So now moving on with Hakarantas. Hakarantaha Pullingaha Anaduh Shabdaha. Anaha is Shakatam. Shakataha. Ana is a cart. Anaha Vahati. Nama Shakatam Vahati ityarthe. Anaduh ityasti. Vrishabhaha ityarthaha. Anaduh means bull or an ox. Okay. So Anaduh ityasmat supratyah kriyate. Chatur anaduhor am udantaha. Iti sutram. Trini padani santi. Chatur anaduhoho for chatur and for anadu. Am udattaha. Am bhavati sacha udattaha. Itot sarvanamasthane iti sutra. Sarvanamasthane iti navati. Sarvanamasthane pare etayoho am iti agamo bhavati. Am is an agama. It is a myth. Okay. So mitvat antyadachah paraha. Midachontyat paraha ityanena antyadachah paraha am ityagamaha bhavati. Anayohu am syat sarvanamasthane pare sacha udattaha. And it is udatta, as he says. Now, when you have anaduh su, because there is sarvanamasthana samya, you have an option of doing this am. But there is also another sutra. Sav anaduhaha. Sau anaduhaha ityasti. Achhinadyornum ityataha at ityanuvartate. Num ityapi anuvartate. Orthaha asya nama anaduh shabdasya num syat sau pare. Numagamaha bhavati supratyaya pare. Ityartha. So now you see there are two sutras. One sutra says when followed by a sarvanamasthana, it gets am. And this sutra says when there is a su pratyaya, it gets num. Okay. So now what would we do? Which of these two should we apply? How do we decide? How do we decide? Should we apply am chaturanaduho ram udantaha, or should we apply savanaduhaha? So Sadagopanji says Samanaduhaha prevails because it is a specific sutra. which is correct. So how do we define or resolve clashes? One is by Sutra Sankhya, but that is not the one which should be applied first. First you have to see if there is an Utsarga Apavada or Sadhara Utsarga Vishesha Bhava. Okay. See, Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha is mandated for all Sarvanamasthanas. It's a general sutra. Whereas Samanaduha applies only in Su, which is a specific sutra. So when there is a general sutra and a specific sutra, it is always specific sutra which applies. So if there is a question, should we apply Am or Num? Both of them are Agamas, which means they should be done Antyadachah Paraham. So in that case, we have to apply Samanaduha and we cannot apply Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha. But for Rupa Siddhi, we need both. We need to do Am and then do Num. So he says, At ityadhikarat avarnat paroyam Num. So from Achin Adyor Num, we are also bringing in At. At means avarnat. So he says, since there is anuvritti of At, this Num, the Numagama, should be following in Avarna. Avarnat parataha Numagamo bhavati. So now initially when you have Anaduh, there is no Avarna. Okay, so what do? We do Am first. Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha etanena Am kriyate. So once we do Am, we have the Akara, which is Avarna. Once we get the Avarna, we do Num following that. Okay, this is a very special case. That is why he says, At ityadhikarat avarnat paroyam Num. Ataha vishesha vihitenapi Numa Am na badhyate. So even though Num is vishesha vihita and therefore should prevail, should overrule Am. But since it says, because of this interpretation, Numa Am na badhyate. Num does not overrule Am. Okay. So you have Sutra number Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha is not overruled by Savanaduha. Both of them apply. First we have Am and then you have Num. Similarly, Amacha Nu na badhyate. Immediately next you will see the sutra Am Sambuddhau. Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha Am Sambuddhau. Okay. In Sambuddhi, in Sarvanamasthana you have Am. In Sambuddhi you have Am. Okay. Now, if there was a question, should we do in Sambuddhi, should we do Savanaduha or Am Sambuddhau? In this case, Am is Vishesha Vihita. Savanaduha will apply both in general Prathama Vibhakti and Sambodhana Prathama, whereas this Am can apply only in Sambodhana Prathama. So therefore, Am would be Vishesha Vihita. So if there was a clash between Savanaduha and Am Sambuddhau would overrule Num. Ama Num Badhyeta Kintu Atrapi Tathaiva. Even here, since there is no Avarna in case of Anaduha, you first do Am and then do Num. So Amacha Num na badhyate. So he says, because of anuvritti of At, there is no badhya badhaka bhava between Numagama and either Ramagama or Amagama. We do both of them in a sequence. So you have Anaduh Su Chaturanaduho Ramudattaha ityanena Antyadachah paraha Amagamaha. So we do Antyadachah paraha. Antyaha ach bhavati ukaraha. Ukarat paratvena Am akaraha agamaha kriyate. So Anadu Ah S ityasti. Eko enachi ityanena enadeshe Anadvah S iti jatam. Idanim akaraha asti At paratvena Samanaduha ityanena avarnat paraha Numagamaha. Nama nakaragamaha. Anadvan H S iti jatam. Idanim halgyabhyo dirghat ityanena sakarasya lopah. Anadvan H ityasti. Sanyogantasya lopah. Sanyogantam yat padam tadantasya lopah syat. Since there is a sanyoga of nakara and hakara, the H gets deleted by sanyogantasya lopah. So you have Anadvan as the rupa. So there are two questions here. Num vidhana samarthyat vasusramsu iti dattvam. No. We see this sutra immediately afterwards. Vasusramsu dhvamsu anaduham daha. It says for anaduh at the end of a pada, the hakara is replaced by dakara. Okay? That is the sutra which comes later. So here also he says, can we replace the nakara by dakara? Because there it does not say hakara. At the end of a pada, when there is padanta, there is dakaradesha is what the sutra tells. So can we replace this nakara by dakara is the question. Tada uchyate num vidhana samarthyat. Because he says num, if this na was converted to dakara, then there was no point in doing num. Okay, we could have directly converted the hakara to dakara. Okay, so num vidhana samarthyat. By the fact that he has specially mandated num, dattva will not happen. The num has to be heard. The nakara is to be heard, and dattva will not happen. So it remains as anadvan. That is one question. One more question. Can we apply nalopah pratipadikantasya? You have rajan, where you do upadha dirgha, it becomes rajan. You says nalopah pratipadika samyakam yat padam tadantasya nakarasya lopah syat. So if there is an akaranta, if it is both a pratipadika and a pada, so at the end of it the nakara would get deleted. Sanyoganta lopasya asiddhatvat nalopo na. Thing is, you have done sanyogantasya lopaha. Right? It is 8-23, whereas nalopa pratipadikanta says 8-7. Purvatra siddham ityanena sanyogantasya lopaha iti lopaha hakara lopaha nalopam prati asiddhaha. So as far as nalopa pratipadikanta is concerned, there is a hakara here. So if there is a hakara, nakara is not at the end, so it cannot be deleted. So it remains as anadvan. Prathamaika vachane anaduh shabdasya anadvan iti rupam. There is some famous thing from the Vedas, some Shanti mantra. It says Dogdhri dhenur vodhan advan. So it's a prayer. It says Dhenuhu dogdhri. Let the cows give lot of milk. Vodha anadvan. Anadvan. Let the bulls vodha have the capacity to bear or to carry or to flow, whatever. So vodha anadvan. It is used in the Vedas. It is also used quite some places in Loka. Sambuddhau. So चतुरनडुः रामदत्तः इत्यतः चतुरनडुहोः इति अनुवर्तते. चतुरनडुहोः अम् स्यात् सम्बुद्धौ. So when followed by sambuddhi, which is ekavachana, prathama ekavachana in sambodhana, you have agama. Amaha apavadaha. So is an apavada for In all sarvanamasthana you get but in sambuddhi you get agama. He anaduh s ityasti. He anadu h s. Antyadachah parah amagamah ukarat parah akarah. Iko enachi ityanena enadeshe krute anadvah s iti jatam. Idanim akarat parah numagamah. Savanaduhah ityanena he anadvan h s. The rest of the steps are same. Halgyambhyaha ityanena sulopaha, sanyogantasya lopaha ityanena nalopaha, he anadvan iti bhavati. So amagame krite akaraha shruyate anadvan, amagame krite akara shruyate, he anadvan. So you have anaduh, this should be a hrasva again. So you have again au pratyaya parepi amagamah bhavati, because it is in all sarvanamasthana. So anadu ahau enachi iko enachi ityena enadeshe krite anadvahau anadvan anadvahau anadvahah he anadvan he anadvahau he anadvahah anadvaham anadvahau anaduhaha. So once we cross sarvanamasthana, there is no amagama. So we have anaduh as rutve visarge anaduhaha. Anaduha. Shasi sarvanamasthanattva bhavena amagamo na bhavati. Then when you have anaduh bhyam, vasu sramsu dhvam svanaduham daha. It is utram. Padadvayameva. Vasu sramsu dhvamsu anaduham. Etesham sarvesham daha. Dakarah adesho bhavati. Padasya ityadhikarah sasajusho ruku ityatah sa ityanuvartate. Santavasvantasya. Vasu is a pratyaya. Okay, there are several pratyayas which are called kvasu, vasu, etc. So Santavasvantasya. So when those pratyayantas ending in sakara, okay, samsvadeshcha, and for these three, sramsu, dhvamsu are two roots, dhatus, etayohu, anaduham, and the word anaduh. For all these, daha syat padante. At the end of a pada, you get dakara as the adesha. So here you have anaduh. So anaduh bhyam iti sthate. Hakarasya sthane dakara adesha. So stramsu dhvamsu anaduham daha iti. Anadud bhyam. Anaduha, anadudbhyam, anadudbhihi ityadini rupani. Santa iti kim? It's a question about the sutra. So the sutrartha said Santa Vasvantasya. The question is Vasu. The pratyaya always ends in sakara. Okay, so whether it is Vasu or Kwasu. So why should you say Santa Vasvantasya when it is sakaranta? Vidvan. Vidvan, the root word is Vidvas. Vidvas iti sakaranta shabdaha, Vasu pratyayantaha. But in Prathamaika Vachana, the Vidvas, it gets numagama, it gets dirgha, and the sakara gets deleted. Sakarasya lopo bhavati. Lope krite vidvan iti nakarantam asti. So when there is no sakaranta, you do not have this dakaradesha. Okay, only when it is vidvas bhyam, it is sthite vidvad bhyam, vidvad bhihi. That is how we get all those forms. When there is no sakara, there is no dakaradesha. Padanta iti kim. So only at the end of a pada, this sutra would apply. Srastam, dhvastam. Srasu dhatohu kta pratyaye. Bhutakale kta pratyaye krite. You have srasu ta, dhvasu ta. So since this is not padanta, there is no padasamya there, the sakara is not replaced by dakara. So santa iti kim, vidvan, padanta iti kim, srastam, dhvastam. So if you come back to anaduh, so sarvanamasthāneshu am agama. So you see in all five, su, aujas, au, you have am agama, whereas in case of sambuddhi, it is am. Okay. In addition, supratyaya pare sam anaduha ityanena numagamopi bhavati. At paraha, akarat paratvena num. So anadvan, anadvan iti ubhayatra bhavati. Anyatra tu kevalam amagamaha, anadvahau, anadvahaha ityadi. Haladishu pratyayeshu. And in all other cases where there is a haladi pratyaya, vasusram sudhvam swanaduham daha ityanena hakarasya sthane dakaradesho bhavati. Tena anadud bhyam, anadud bhihi ityadi nirupani. So in su, you have anadud su, kharicha ityanena chartve anadutsu bhavati. In other ajadis, you have no change. Anaduh, asu, anaduh, a ityadi. Any questions? Okay, in the end of this, there are several, some pieces extracted from kavyas where whatever is studied yesterday and today, there are some prayogas of those hakaranta words. Okay. So by next class, it would be nice if you can just go through, find out which are the hakarantas and work out their prakriya. Okay, quite be easy. Krishnangri Padma Madhulin Punar Visishta Maya Guneshu Ramate Vrajinavaheshu. Piece from the Bhagavata. There is also a Sandhi, and this is quite easy. And from the Mahabhashya, you have all this, I mean, the file I'll upload it by today or tomorrow, so you can, there is a list of some 7 or 8 prayogas from various places, so you can look at it and find out which is the word and the prakriya. Okay. You don't need to send me anything, it's just you work it out, so we'll discuss it by in the next class before we move on. Ekah shabdah sushtu jnatah suprayuktah swarge loke kamadhuk bhavati is what the Bhashyakara says in Mahabhashyam. Kamatma pragyamani cha mitradhruk sarvashankitah akarta chakratajnyascha tyaktadharmah priyanratah from the Mahabharata. तत्कथ्यतां महाभाग यदि कृष्ण कथाश्रयम् अथवास्य पदाम्भोज मकरन्द लिहां सताम् य एतन्मर्त्यमुद्दिश्य भगवत्यप्रतिद्रुहि द्रुह्यत्यज्ञः पृथक् दृष्टिः तत्त्वतो विमुखो भवेत् from the Bhagavata. तस्याथ कामधुग्धेनुः वसिष्ठस्य महात्मनः उक्ता कामान् प्रयच्छेति सा कामान् दुदुहे ततः अनोभिरनडुद्युक्तैस्तमनुज्ञाप्य गोकुलम्. In this case there is actually no Subanta form, but just the application of a sutra which we saw just now. It's anadudyuktaihi. Okay. Soyam durmarsha hridayo brahmadhrukta lokepakirtim mahatim avapsyati. And the last one, anadvaham suvratamyo dadati halasya vodharam anantaviryam dhurandharam balavantam yuvanam prapnoti lokan dasha dhenudasya. There are some 7 or 8 prayogas. Just go through them and see. There's nothing very special, but just to show where these words have been used in literature. So I think we'll stop here. Inakshara samam nayamadhigamya maheshwarat kritsnam vyakaranam proktam tasmai paninaye namaha nitrayan namaskritya taduktish paribhavya cha vyakarana siddhanta kaunudihim rachare.
The organizer has ended the session.